All right, welcome to episode 7 of the 5 a.m. grind. How's it going, Horace?
It's going great.
It's going?
How's everything with you?
Yeah, can't believe 2020 is almost over. But yeah, it is what it is. So I guess for this week, the topic I wanted to discuss was giving up and pivoting. So I know we've talked about this in some of our other podcasts before. We've talked about, giving up on something and pivoting, etc. So I thought we'd cover this topic in the following manner.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, in a startup or a business, how do you know when to give up or to pivot? And then talking about careers, how do you know you should keep going on a certain path or give up and pivot? Wanted to talk about the difference between stubbornness and perseverance. So, someone who's stubborn, who keeps doing something completely wrong versus someone who perseveres and goes through problems. And then does pivoting imply that you're unclear about your future goals? And then maybe we cover some takeaways. So it's a tough discussion, right? And we touched on this in some of the podcasts before. So if you had a startup or a business, let's discuss your law firm because that's something you've experienced with. How do you know whether or not you should be giving up or pivoting?
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a tough discussion. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those hard to discuss topics. But I thought it'd be a good discussion.
So I can't I feel like, okay, so I can't give you like a formula or a magic formula to be like, okay, at this point you give up.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are certain, I guess, trains of thought that you should have.
Yeah.
Or for lack of better words, I guess like certain work ethic you should have.
Yeah.
And if you no longer have that, then you should give up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things is like, I feel like there's nothing wrong with making mistakes.
Yeah.
But you need to be learning and you need to be accepting of those mistakes.
Right.
So if you're not accepting of mistakes, and you feel like everything is out there, you need to like just stop because you're not going anywhere. So whether you give up or whatever, however you want to frame it, is up to you, but you need to stop because if you're making mistakes, you need to have a critical conversation with yourself. It's more of an inner dialogue that says, okay, what here was something that happened because of like my environment? It was out of my control. What is within my control and what can I correct?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So, and if you're not doing that, if you don't have that conversation with yourself, and this is more like on the daily, it doesn't even matter whether you're like you're wrong. Sometimes even when you're like right, you don't know why you were right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
So there's like a saying that if you're, I guess, like if you're stupid, or if you don't know like something in depth, or you're not knowledgeable in an area in depth, even when you're right, you're wrong because you don't know why you're right. It's pure kind of
luck. It's like luck. Yeah.
And if you're like wise and you have like depth and breadth of knowledge in an area, even when you're wrong, you're right because like you're going to the fundamentals, your train of thought is correct.
Right.
The outcome may have been wrong. So now you're going to keep tweaking it until you're kind of right. So you want to be in that second class.
Right.
Right? Like where you, even when you're wrong, you're right because you need to have the basics down and you're constantly critically analyzing everything and figuring things out.
Yeah.
Once you've stopped that, definitely I would say that's when I would quit when I stopped doing that.
Right. Interesting. I think for me, and we touched on this in another podcast as well, when I'm like sort of running things with my accounting firm, the biggest indicator for me is if you see clients are not paying for your services anymore. If that's happening, then that's a clear indication of whatever value you're providing isn't being valued by the market, right? So I think that's the biggest sort of indicator or litmus test, that if people are paying you for your product, that's a pretty good test to tell you that whatever it is that you're working on is quite successful, right?
So if they're paying, then everything is like 100%.
Well, paying, and then you're sort of increasing, you're getting traction, right? Volume's increasing, things are sort of pointing upwards.
But if somebody's not paying, then you're saying you're definitely wrong.
I think so in general. Like if people are not parting away with their hard-earned dollars to pay for your services, to a certain extent, you got to say this isn't really working. Because, I mean, in the beginning, for sure, like you might have to give freebies, right? Or do services at a certain discounted rate, etc. But then I think over time, you'd have to be able to charge what you're worth. Okay. Right?
So you're saying that not necessarily in the beginning, but you need a path to profitability.
I think so, for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of businesses out there that have no kind of clear goal as to how they're going to become profitable. Yeah. Nor are they kind of figuring things out to actually develop a plan to be profitable. It's more like if we can ride this out long enough, maybe
we might be profitable. Yeah.
It's just like a pure
it's
luck.
Like some of these startups, let's be honest, like all they do is like, I don't need to pick on some certain names, but they give you free rides the whole time. And they're saying we have no path to profitability. So when are they going to be profitable, right?
No, 100%.
Like they're already the dominant player in that space. Like, shouldn't they be profitable at some point?
Yeah. And like there's no markets that they could grow into. There's nothing. Yeah. So it's like, 100%. So there should be a path to profitability. You need to have a plan.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So let's turn the discussion and talk about sort of the same question in careers. How do you know whether or not to continue in a certain direction or sort of change directions and pivot?
Oh man, I think that's.
I know you've mostly been an entrepreneur, so it might be hard for you to answer. But give it a shot. What do you think?
I would say if I was working, and again, this is not going to be the most pragmatic advice. This is going to be very theoretical, right? Because I'm not going to front. I don't have that much experience working with
so just to remind you guys, Horace runs his own law firm, so not much employment experience.
I mean, I would say if you're looking, I mean, it depends on your values, right?
Yeah.
So if, for example, again, if you're in an area of your career, you're earning enough, you like your job, you're comfortable with it, and you want to prioritize maybe family or anything else, all the power to you. Right?
Yeah.
But if you want, like, the question is if you want, like, when you would want to give up or pivot, I'm assuming there is some kind of growth or need or desire for growth, right?
Yeah.
So if, like, you're growing in an industry or even in a company and you feel like I cannot grow anymore and I want to grow, I think it's time to find another job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or pivot.
Yeah.
Maybe
pivot, go somewhere else.
Because, like, the thing is every corporation is a pyramid scheme, right? Yeah. There's fewer managers.
Yeah. It's sort of like this. Yeah. It's very much into a pyramid, is what Horace is saying. Yeah.
So then if you're in a company that's top heavy, I would run because that's not a well-ran company. They don't know what they're doing, right? So I would definitely say that it is a bit of a pyramid. And so if you come to a level where it's like, okay, I'm a VP or whatever it is, I'm a director, and what are the probability of you kind of growing, and if it's not a lot and you have that desire, maybe you pivot to starting your own business, right? There's a lot of or if you have started your own business and you feel like it's not going anywhere, I'm pretty sure you're going to be forced to get a job, but still it's time to pivot, right?
Switch directions.
There's nothing wrong with that.
For sure. I think, honestly, and we touched on this on a previous podcast as well, like, growth is a key indication, right? If you're going to see that you're constantly learning, expanding your responsibility, taking on more initiative, and whatever job it is allows you to grow and sort of move up the ranks, then maybe I'd say stay in that position, continue working at it, right? But if growth seems limited and it's sort of a function of like, someone needs to leave or retire until you get promoted.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best place to stay, right? Because then you're sort of
depends on how old they are.
Yeah, it depends on the person. We're sort of generalizing here, right? But I think for me, the way I've looked at it as well, and I was talking about this before, like when I worked in equity research at one of the investment banks, getting promoted was pretty tough because you kind of have to wait for your analyst who's above you to either retire or leave for that spot to open up, right? And if that person isn't retiring or leaving, that spot isn't opening up for you, right? Yeah. So you need to figure out, well, am I going to stay here for as long as this person is here and just sort of stunt my growth and limit it for a while? Or do I pivot and move and look for something else, right?
Yeah.
I think, you just have to ask yourself if you're growing. I guess that leads us to our other question, which I'd like to spend quite a bit of time on this one. What's the difference between stubbornness and perseverance? This is one of those philosophical discussions, so it's definitely hard to answer. But how do you let's kick that around a bit. The difference between stubbornness and perseverance.
I would say they're a bit the same.
It's like, two sides of the same coin. Yeah. But
I mean, like, I think inherently there is a negative connotation to the word stubborn.
Yeah,
because people kind of attach this, like, oh, this person, when somebody's stubborn, you also think that they're not empathetic, or they're not self-aware, or they don't understand their environment.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not really the meaning of stubborn.
Yeah.
Right? Stubborn is, I want to do this,
yeah,
and I'm going to figure out a way. You could be intelligently stubborn too, which is perseverance. But I would say they're both the same. I guess the real core of the question, right, is when are you stupidly pursuing something
right,
as opposed to intelligently pursuing something.
Right.
And how do you find, like, the difference? And I think the biggest issue, and I've tried to answer this kind of question to myself all the time, is when you are entering into an opportunity, any kind of endeavor you start, especially in business, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Right. So you have to come with a sense of openness. If you had the answers already, you'd be a billionaire. And everybody else around you would be a billionaire, and the value of billionaires would go down. Right? If it was that easy, that's what would happen, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that it is difficult, and there's an unknown element. What makes it difficult is an unknown or very rare commodity intellectually. Yeah. Right? So that's what makes it difficult. And to kind of be able to break through that, you have to be stubborn.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between that and just a stupid idea?
Yeah. Right.
Like, it's like, okay, well, I want to sell, like, I don't know, I want to sell recycled tuna cans.
Yeah, right? to somebody. Yeah,
like, and so is that a good idea or a bad idea? You know what I mean? Like, what's
and you know, we sort of at the when we sort of started this discussion, we talked about how do you know if you're on the right path, right? And I said, oh, you have paying clients, etc. It's easy for me to say, but you know, at the onset of every idea and business proposition, in the beginning, there's a time when nobody is paying you, right? You're just trying it 100%. Out, right? You're going blind.
It's a concept of the mind.
Yeah, you're going blind. Yeah. And that very beginning just requires, let's be honest, it's like stupid stubbornness. You just have to keep doing it. In those initial stages, what do you do? What do you do, for example, if you're launching a new service or a new product, whatever it is, right? How do you keep going to figure out, or to tell yourself, this is working, this isn't working. Okay. Yeah, I should just keep going.
So now my approach is very different. Okay, I feel like...
So it's changed. It used to be different.
Yeah. Okay. So like right now, when you are doing your first startup, your approach is going to be very bottom up.
Right.
And as you're more experienced and you've done more businesses, it's going to be top down. And there's a difference. The difference is when you are kind of initiating your first startup, doing that first business, you're looking at like what your surroundings are and what needs you could fulfill, which is a wonderful place to start. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've got like a taste for like a candy from Europe that like nobody else sells. And there's enough that like you start selling it and there's more demand for it.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, okay, well, this is something, and you make a business out of this. That's great. Right.
Totally.
But it's very bottom up, right? So you're looking at a need, and then you're kind of looking at like, okay, what is my need, and what is like how can I get this going? And maybe you'll put certain things together, logos, whatever, products, services, goods, and market them a little bit, maybe in whichever way, and then you will basically figure out like, okay, whether it works or not is sometimes more luck than anything else.
The
totally. Top down though, I feel is, okay, I've got X amount of capital sitting around. I want to create or develop an income and get this money to earn more money. Mm-hmm. What's the best way? What's the easiest way? So now I'm not looking at my own needs. I'm looking at the marketplace. I'm like, okay, what do people need? What can I get into? How fast can I get into it? Now, you know, when you have some experience, you know how much marketing is going to cost. You know what your sales is going to cost. You know these price points.
Totally.
And so you know what your margins need to be. You need to know once you know what your margins need to be. Even if it's a rough idea, you'll know how much volume you need to have. Once you know how much volume you need to have, you can figure out the market and how much you can sell into and what percentage of that market you need to gain some kind of profitability, and potentially even like long-term how much you would earn. Now, that is not something that like is always like a science, you know, it's an art, but it's still more insight than like just starting
blindly starting something and then hoping it works, praying and hoping it works.
Because I find like a lot of times when you're starting something, one of the biggest things that I feel like nobody concentrates when they're first business is like, okay, if I start this and this is successful, what's preventing other people from coming in and ruining my margins?
Right?
Or how do I keep people out?
Right. True.
Because when you're starting a business, it's not just offense, it's defense too. You're not only trying to serve your client, but you want to be the best at it. And you want to prevent like other companies from taking your client.
Coming and taking your clients. Absolutely.
So that portion of it, like it's like that is something that people when they're first starting they don't think about. They just think about, oh, I've got this really good coffee and I'm going to sell it to somebody 1 cup at a time, which is perfectly fine. But maybe you're not like that breadth and depth is not there.
Right. Do you think people get called stubborn or with someone with perseverance based on the outcome of whatever it is that they're doing? The outcome, whether it's successful or a failure, determines whether or not that person is stubborn or has perseverance to a certain extent?
I think it tends to be like if you fail at something and you fail at it enough and you keep going, then you're stubborn. But if you succeed at the same thing, and sometimes it's just a matter of like right time and place.
Right.
You wouldn't be called stubborn, you'd just be called intelligent. You'd be like, oh, that guy's smart, he's clever.
He had perseverance, etc., etc. I think it's definitely interesting.
But then also, like, so then here's the thing though. In addition to that, I think business is about time and place. You need to know what time and place you're at. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Because here's another thing. Yeah, you could be stubborn. I could be stubborn about like colonizing another planet, but do we have everything? Right? To be able to colonize it, or am I just kind of creating a brand to sell a car? I don't know. Right. So there's like so many things. I think that with businesses especially, right, like to be a visionary, you have to, I think the best visionaries are ones that look into the future, but they have a horizon, right? Like they're looking down maybe 50 years from now, what is possible? And now I'm going to take the first step. Right. And they'll bring that back down to what it is, what is happening today. And then take that first step, second step, and slowly get there.
Right.
So I think when you're stubborn in that sense, right, that's where you have a planned profitability. You know where you're going and how you're going to get there and what the next step is. It's not a concept of the mind where it's like, okay, I just want this thing to happen in the future. We're going to have like hover vehicles or whatever, but there is no kind of understanding of what technological limitations there are and what next steps need to be made to get to that level. Right.
No, that's interesting. I think the way I've sort of done it and looking at my career now and where I am in my life, I felt that sometimes there's a lot of people that do give up stuff a bit early. You know what I mean? It's like that image of the guy you have who's, underground digging, and then he stops right before taking a couple more digs and finding that big diamond. I think that definitely happens to people a lot. And what I found with myself is kind of like the way you sort of mentioned, if the idea is already out there and we have the tools to achieve or to make it a success or to bring it to light, then maybe, you should keep going to a certain extent. And, just keep iterating, just keep trying it out until you sort of see that evidence of success where customers are paying you for whatever product or service you have to sell. And then it hopefully becomes some sort of a success. I think it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough to answer, but
I think, sorry not to cut you off. But I think the biggest companies right now are not as innovative as we think they are. They're not creating completely brand new segments. Most companies take old technologies and they just find a new way to kind of bring it together. So for example, like taxis were always there, and then you kind of put it together, pair it with an application in Google Maps, and then you've got Uber. Or like electric motors are always there, right? And you take and everybody's using a car, you bring it together, you got an electric car. So I feel like innovation is not something that is like something that's like completely unimaginable. It's taking existing technologies and putting them together in new ways.
Totally. It's funny when you say that because you just think about like startups and ideations, just innovation in general. I remember Steve Jobs has a pretty good quote. His quote is, "The best ideas are stolen." Do you know? You've heard that one before? It's a pretty good one. So, and essentially like Apple's mantra as well has always been, you go into a market, like Apple went into the mobile phone market, which was dominated by like Nokia, BlackBerry, etc. and then just came in and made an elegant solution that people just really wanted, right? Like you were talking about Touch ID, etc., all that stuff, like just a better interface. That's what Apple did. It doesn't, not every idea has to be completely original. Sometimes you're just sort of innovating in a market with a better solution, a solution that just
better
works
execution.
Better. Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like you're not really stealing anything because anybody can have ideas. You know, one of the things that really annoyed me, me being a lawyer and in the legal field was there was companies in Virginia that were holding patents on, or they claimed that they hold patents that BlackBerry had infringed and sued them, and then they won. And the thing was I hate that so much, especially like patent, like trolling. It's because, dude, I could have an idea about anything, man. I could have an idea.
Just patent it up.
I could patent an idea of like colonizing Mars, and as soon as somebody puts in the hard work,
and
finds a way to get
there,
right? Then I'm like, all right, I'm suing them.
Yeah,
right?
That's funny. That's
so
funny.
it's
that's
like execution is everything, man. Execution is like 90% of
what it takes to succeed. Interesting. So I had one of the last questions I had for this particular show was, does pivoting imply that you are unclear about your goals? In general, you know, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're switching all the time. You're not very clear about your goals." What do you think about that?
I mean, it depends on how often you pivot. If I wake up every morning and I have a new
pivoting.
idea,
yeah,
that's not pivoting then.
Right.
Because I find pivoting, when you say pivot, I'm not just interpreting that to be a change in direction.
Yeah.
Right. I interpret that to be a calculated change in direction, maybe either to maybe capture an opportunity that I did not know existed before, but I see it now, and I can move my business to gain that. That's a pivot.
Yeah.
I don't see somebody, because a lot of people are like, they'll have an idea, and as soon as they test that idea, something like it's not working out, and that's always happens. Right? When you have a concept in your mind, it's like never the case that's exactly how it's going to play out. You're going to go out, you're going to test it. Oh, people aren't buying it, or maybe the marketing isn't working, maybe the sales isn't working, maybe packaging isn't working. Whatever it is, it's not working. You tweak it, you push it out again. Okay, now I found out this isn't working. That's not working. You keep doing it until you get something out of it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, that first friction that they get, they'll pivot. Or
they'll try to give up. Yeah.
Because the first bit of it, that fantasizing about it, right? That is sometimes to people like the high that they need or want. Sorry, not need.
Right.
And once they get that high, they don't want to put in the effort, right? Because, dude, it's so easy to be like, hey, listen, I'm going to create like the best watch and it's going to beat Apple. And you know what? So before I actually get into the technology, let me spend some money and get a website out. Let me get a logo. Let me print some business cards.
So true, dude.
Get a phone number in.
So true.
Right? Get myself a nice designation. Incorporate even sometimes, right? Open up a bank account. Now I need to get swag, right? There's so many things that you could keep going. I want to get
so many things you need to do to prepare and plan before you actually launch. So when the most important thing is just launch.
I feel like, okay, when that's the difference between somebody who's an entrepreneur and somebody who's just messing around. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to be like, all right, what part of the watch don't I like? How quickly can I get a prototype out? Can I ask family and friends whether they like it? Like, do you like this watch better than the Apple Watch? Right? Why? Right? Do that market research, get something out, build a few of them, see if somebody buys them. Before you have a name, before you have anything.
Proof of concept.
You're out there trying to figure out exactly what you said, right? Are people willing to part with their hard-earned money
for this
thing?
Absolutely. I think for me, like pivots, the way I look at them, sometimes they're necessary. For example, if you're going in a direction and it's not working out, you pivot and you sort of start something else or go after another market. I mean, I think the way, maybe this is a slightly different way of looking at pivots as well. You know, Jeff Bezos has this thing where he says, ultimately, we know what our goal is. We just don't know how we're going to get there, right? Like, we're not strict about how we're going to get to that goal, but that is our goal and our objective. And I think that's how you should be. Like, if you see a clear market need for something, or you believe something genuinely is a problem that you're trying to solve, keep that problem as like your overall mantra, the thing that you're trying to solve, and then don't be so stubborn to use the words that we're using today about how you're going to get there to solve it.
So you're stubborn in the right places.
Right, exactly.
You're stubborn in
I like
that vision.
That. I like the way you're putting it.
You're stubborn in getting it to like, I need it to be, I need to create $1 billion company that's doing A, B, and C.
Yeah, like I know this is a problem. Yeah. Like for example, with my accounting firm, I know people are getting crappy customer service from their accountants sometimes, right? I know that's a problem. For sure. My dad has experienced it, right? I know other friends and family who've experienced the same thing, right? Now, in the way that you sort of give that customer service and that service for your clients can be sort of differentiated, right? One firm serves their clients very different from someone else. You're still doing a tax return, right? It's the same end product, but just the way you're serving your clients is different, right?
And that vision, it's like, okay, well, how... You could start off with it's the customer service, and this is where the pivot is. Yeah. And could be a minor pivot. Yeah. But it's like, okay, so first to start off, okay, so you're not getting the best customer service. Yeah. Which I agree. I feel like majority of professional services firm are not
crappy
there.
Customer service. Yeah.
But then it's like, all right, now the issue is, do you want to give 5 people really great customer service, right? Yeah. Or do you want to be profitable because you're going to be losing money? So now it's like, how do you scale? Yeah. Right. So your vision is like, I want to give every single Canadian or every single person in the world or whatever it is, whoever is afflicted with
poor customer service. It
has with having to pay tax and the poor customer service, you want to increase that, right? Yeah. And so it's like, and you want to give it to them like all that service right away. You want to give them the information right away. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're increasing their net worth, which is like something that you guys are constantly advertising, right? So it's like, those are the things that when I'm looking at your firm, I'm like, all right, this is where it's going. And then when you're executing it, that all depends on, like, if one way doesn't work, you're constantly figuring
adjusting. Exactly.
Because customer service here's the thing though, like, customer service may mean one thing to you, may mean something else to somebody else.
To someone else, absolutely.
So as you're growing, you got to pivot and figure out how do I encompass everybody?
In customer service. How do I address everybody's concern and sort of make it like a scalable model? Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like that's the other thing, right? Pivoting sometimes is like, you understand it's not just going away from your core competency. It's like adding on to it.
Okay.
Because now as you have more experience, you understand that there's more to the definition than what you first thought.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Totally.
And I feel like a lot of people, when they quote unquote pivot, it's like, oh, I started a bakery today and tomorrow I'm starting like a dental practice. Yeah. Like, it's like, that's not pivoting.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm trying to sell this on Amazon and now tomorrow I'm
going to sell this. Sell this. I mean, have you met people who aren't very sort of stubborn in their craft? Like, they don't sort of stick to one goal. They're always switching. Have you really?
I feel like majority of people are like that.
No way. Okay.
To be honest, I feel like majority of people do not have the patience
Big
to
generalization.
stick around. I mean, majority of people I've come in contact with.
Yeah.
That I've known.
Fair.
They are too just engrossed in like what other people are thinking of them, right? To even try something, forget about trying to be stubborn enough to go against the grain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So true.
So you got to try it first. And then once you try it, right, then you got to be stubborn enough to keep doing it.
Correct.
So you keep trying, right? It's not, you make that first attempt, but then you got to make that 10th and 100th attempt. That's the stubbornness. That's when the stubbornness kicks in. So I feel like just people nowadays, I feel like, I don't know, I guess it is a generalization. Yeah. But I feel like there's just a lot of people out there who are avoiding that, like, I can't. And we've talked about this in past podcasts because it's just how the education system's kind of built. Like, you're not encouraged to make mistakes.
Yeah, you're not. Right? You're not. Exactly.
So you're like, something is wrong, right? Yeah. Something like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. So that's why I feel like a lot of people are trained. Yeah. Not that you can't undo that, but it's a process. It can't be done overnight.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is really the problem that afflicts like people today or our generation today is more so people aren't stubborn enough to see an idea through and see it to like actually monetizing that idea and seeing it through and whether or not that's a particular success. They probably give up a little too early, you'd say.
They give up a little bit too early. Yeah. There's stubbornness. There's also, like, I would say other factors too. I think that people have I don't know, I feel like an interesting relationship that they have with money. Yeah. Right? That's one thing. Or an interesting relationship with what they consider to be happiness or the difference between happiness and joy. Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that maybe are all future podcasts. I feel like for whatever reason, people are not
You know what? It's a good point. I think I would say the same too. I think it was the same thing with me too. Like a lot of the times, like for example, just starting this particular podcast, this idea was conceived in like March of 2020, right? When COVID actually started. We finally got around to doing it in December 2020 because we were putting it off too. And sometimes they're like, oh, I want to put it off. Oh, you have like a million excuses before you start something. When sometimes all you need to do is just start, right? Be a little bit stubborn. Be a little bit sort of forthright with whatever it is you want to do and just put it out to market and see if it works or not. People will listen, people will watch, whatever, right? And stay consistent in the craft. Keep doing videos, keep doing podcasts. Eventually, things will catch on.
Yeah. No, I actually, now that I think about it, I just want to take a few steps back with the stubborn comment.
Yeah.
I do feel people are stubborn in the wrong ways. They're not stubborn with struggle.
Right.
That's
okay.
what it is.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing a business, you're stubborn, but it's not like you're gonna keep running into the wall. You have to figure out like critically what I've just said, like what you're wrong about and how you're gonna do that. People are stubborn about meaningless things like I really want this ice cream and now I'm gonna do whatever I want to get it, which is fine. I'm not like it's not completely meaningless, but it's not as meaningful as a journey, right? Of just kind of climbing the summit. And it's like, and the struggles that you're going to have as you're trying to climb and all that stuff and just keep being stubborn when things are difficult and everything hurts. You know,
and you just have
collapsing.
to. I think, you know what, this is a problem that's going to plague this generation for a while because we become the generation of instant gratification, right? You want something, you see a notification on your phone, you're like your dopamine levels increase. It's like instant gratification. You don't understand that in order to build something and make something a success, it just requires hard work. It's like the old adage, right? Just keep doing it. Keep going at it. Eventually, it'll be a success at some point, right? It might seem very dark, and the trajectory might seem very hard at times, but all you got to do is just keep going. Keep showing up, like you said. Keep showing up.
Half the job is showing up. Half. You're done half of your work if you just show up.
If you just show up. Yeah.
And then you get to it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So key takeaway: stubbornness, perseverance. What's it for you?
Key takeaways: I'd say be stubborn with struggle. Whenever something requires struggle, you have to be stubborn to get yourself over it. Definitely. And stubborn in vision, all good. These are good things to be stubborn with. But to be stubborn with a particular execution, right? Or not thinking, that's where you have to kind of step back and reevaluate what you're doing, whether it's correct or not.
I think the advice that I'd give, I mean, it's been given already. I mentioned Jeff Bezos. That's really, really good advice. I think be stubborn, like you said, in your vision and your objective and the problem you're trying to solve, but be very flexible and always pivot in the path that you take to get there. Cool. So, all right. We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. See you guys in the next podcast. For now,
take care, guys.
Take care. Peace.